She's gripping a shopping cart at 4 p.m., her toddler mid-meltdown between the cereal aisle and the checkout line, screaming, kicking, the whole store turning to look. It's a scene every parent knows by heart. Now picture the same aisle, in a supermarket in Osaka. A toddler, maybe the same age, walking calmly beside her mother, occasionally tugging her sleeve, but never collapsing into the floor. Not because she's a different kind of child. Because she was raised with a different kind of quiet. Researchers who study early childhood across cultures have noticed something strange. Public tantrums, the kind that feel almost inevitable to Western parents, are far less common in Japanese households. You might be thinking this is just a stereotype, that Japanese kids are simply well-behaved by nature. But that's not it at all. What's actually happening is a set of small, deliberate habits any parent, anywhere, can start using tonight. And before you assume this only works in a culture built around politeness and order, here's what's fascinating. The techniques aren't about control. They're about giving a child something most Western parenting accidentally takes away, a feeling of security so deep, the child never needs to explode to be heard. This isn't folklore. Japanese child-rearing draws heavily on a concept from psychiatrist Takeo Doi called ame. The deep, wordless trust a child feels when they know they'll be met with warmth no matter what. Western developmental psychology has its own cousin to this idea, found in attachment theory. Children who feel securely attached regulate their emotions faster, because they're not fighting to be noticed. Out of that foundation comes the first habit, the one that changes everything before a tantrum even has a chance to start. Pillar 1, Presence before correction. Here's the contrast. In most Western households, when a child starts to whine or fuss in public, the instinct is to react to the behavior, a sharp stop that, a bribe, a rushed distraction with a phone. The child's feeling gets skipped over entirely, only the noise gets addressed. In Japanese parenting, the first move is almost always the opposite. The parent drops down, makes eye contact, and simply acknowledges what the child is feeling. You're tired, aren't you? No lecture. No negotiation. Just recognition. It sounds small. It isn't. Here's the mechanism. A young child's brain doesn't yet have the wiring to calm itself down. That skill, called self-regulation, develops slowly, and it develops through repetition of one experience, being calmed by someone else first. Every time a parent meets a child's distress with steady presence instead of urgency, the child's nervous system borrows that calm. Do it enough times, and the child starts to carry a little bit of that calm with them into the world. This is exactly where the failure loop begins for so many parents. When a child starts to fuss, the panic sets in, everyone's watching, I need this to stop now. So the parent moves straight to distraction or punishment, skipping the acknowledgement step entirely. And in the short term, it often works, the child quiets down, distracted by the phone or scared into silence. But the underlying feeling was never actually met. It just got buried. And a feeling that's buried enough times doesn't disappear, it comes out bigger, later, somewhere else. A calm child isn't a child who was silenced. A calm child is a child who was heard first. Pillar 2, The Power of Mimomoru, Watching Without Rescuing. Picture the failure loop in reverse this time. A child stumbles while stacking blocks, or struggles to zip a jacket, and a parent swoops in immediately, fixes it, finishes it, hands it back solved. It feels like love. It feels like help. But every time that happens, the child absorbs a quiet, invisible message, I couldn't do that on my own. Japanese caregivers practice something almost the opposite. A principle called Mimomoru, which roughly means watching over without interfering. The parent stays close, stays attentive, but holds back the urge to jump in. The child is allowed to struggle, to get frustrated, to work it out, with the parent present, but not rescuing. Like it should. Frustration tolerance, the ability to sit with a hard feeling without falling apart, is a skill, not a personality trait. And like any skill, it's built through small, repeated exposure to manageable struggle. A child who is never allowed to be frustrated never learns what frustration feels like from the inside, or that it eventually passes. So when frustration does hit, in a supermarket, in a classroom, anywhere the stakes are higher, it hits like a wave they've never learned to swim through. This is the quiet backfire of overhelping. It feels right in the moment, no tears, no mess, no delay. But it trades a small, low-stakes struggle now for a much bigger, higher-stakes collapse later, when the parent isn't there to swoop in. Mimamura flips that trade. The child stacks the blocks wrong 3 times before getting it right, and the parent says nothing, just stays near, steady, available if truly needed. The frustration comes. And then, on its own, it passes. That single experience, frustration that doesn't require rescue, is what teaches a nervous system it can survive discomfort without exploding. You'll see this same principle in how Japanese parents handle minor public friction. A toy another child won't share, a long wait in line. The instinct isn't to fix it instantly. It's to stand back, just slightly, and let the child feel the discomfort long enough to learn it isn't dangerous. A parent who rescues every struggle raises a child who panics at the first one. A parent who watches raises a child who can wait. Pillar 3, Shared Ritual over Individual Reward. In many Western households, good behavior gets tied to a transaction, a sticker chart, a treat for sitting still, a screen as a bribe to get through the grocery store. It works, but only while the reward is in front of the child. The moment it's gone, so is the motivation. Japanese parenting leans on something sturdier, ritual. Small, repeated routines the child does with the family, not for a prize. Helping set the table, walking together the same way to the same store, bowing before a meal. These rituals aren't taught through explanation. They're absorbed through repetition, side by side with a parent, day after day. Here's the mechanism underneath it. A child's sense of safety in public doesn't come from being told the rules. It comes from predictability, knowing what happens next, and knowing they belong inside that rhythm. Developmental psychologists have long noted that children regulate best in environments with consistent structure, because predictability lowers the baseline anxiety a young nervous system carries into any new or stimulating place, like a crowded store. Reward-based behavior does the opposite. It teaches a child to scan the environment for what they'll get, rather than settle into what they already know. So when the reward isn't offered, a quick errand, an unplanned stop, the child has no internal anchor. No ritual to fall back on. Just the raw, overstimulating newness of the moment. And that's precisely when tantrums erupt. It feels efficient in the short term, a sticker works today. But it quietly trains a child to need external motivation for every hard moment, instead of building an internal sense of this is just what we do. A child who does something for a reward stops when the reward stops. A child who does something as ritual carries it everywhere. So here's what it comes down to. Presence before correction, meet the feeling first, and the behavior calms on its own. Mimamura, watch instead of rescue, and frustration becomes something a child can survive. Shared ritual over reward, routines a child belongs to, not prizes they perform for. None of this is a cultural secret locked away in Japan. It's simply what happens when a child feels safe enough that they never need to fall apart to be seen. You don't need to overhaul your whole routine tonight. Just pick one small ritual, a walk, a bedtime phrase, a way of setting the table, and do it the same way, every day, this week. That's where it starts. Send them this. They need to hear it's not about control, it's about connection. And if habits like this are something you want more of, hit subscribe. Next time, we'll look at the one bedtime routine Japanese parents swear by, and why it works even on the hardest nights. Your child was never trying to make things harder. They were just waiting to feel safe enough to stop.